Happy Saturday, everybody. My name is Benjamin Poole, head trader at Verified Investing. And here's my Valentine's Day gift to you for being such wonderful viewers of my channel. So I'm going to go over 12 different stocks. Same with yesterday. You guys are insatiable with your stocks. And like I mentioned in yesterday's video, I'm going to go over some of the stocks that I didn't cover in my previous video comments. I may not always have an opportunity for this, but I can do this on a Saturday. So I'm going to go into an extended version of what I usually do, similar to what I did yesterday. Okay, so 12 different stocks. Some of them are really beaten up on the charts. Some of them are overextended on the charts. Some of them look to have broken out of downsloping trend lines, long-term downsloping trend lines, and could potentially move much higher on the charts. So let's just go ahead and dive into the first one, IGV. Here's this first chart that I'm going to mention. IGV is iShares Expanded Tech Software Sector ETF. What I want you to notice on the charts is we've got this low pivot point right here that's capped price action or kept price action above this since the lows of January 2024. Every time it's tried to get below this low pivot point, it's gotten a nice bounce. So really what I'm looking at is the line in the sand right here at $77.27. This for me is not a day trade or a swing tradable level. I'm waiting for another leg to the downside. So right here is $63.50. I like this high pivot point right here where price had consolidated previously, and price, once it got above it, it never retraced to the scene of the crime on this breakout. So I anticipate price action of IGV to head down to $63.50. Another thing that I also like about IGV down at this level is look at this long-term upsloping trend line. This goes back to February 2017. Look at this price consolidation on this trend line. Second hit right here, COVID lows, third hit right here, fourth hit. Because it is such a long-term upsloping trend line, once price action gets back into here, you should get a pretty substantial bounce. And by the time price action gets in there, it should be right here at $63.50. I want you to also notice that from this previous top right here, you had about a 47% pullback to the lows. And then look at this. Take this pivot top right here. This would be about a 47% move to the downside. I would like to see it continue that trend for the 47% pullback before a bounce. Right now, the tech software sector is getting beaten up, which is one of the reasons I would not play it here. For those of you who are more aggressive, this is your buy level, and then wait for a bounce. Just know that if it closes below that on a daily closing basis, you're heading down to $63.50. High pivot point right below these lows and this beautiful upsloping trend line. The convergence of these two factors gives me confluence, and I love it when chart setups happen like that. And this 47% retrace or pullback would be matching this 47% retrace pullback. I love it. ATRA, this one I would stay away from. I love charts that go extended back further than 2023. This right now, look at, you're trading just below this low pivot from the initial IPO open, then the bottom before this massive bounce. Now that we're underneath this level, for me, I can't trade something like this because this has had such a significant sell-off, bearish consolidation. And so if it breaks this $4.30 level, you are heading much lower on the charts. And I don't even have any levels to give you on a potential breakdown. Aggressive traders, $4.30 would be that entry point, knowing that it could head lower on the charts once it does break that. If it continues the support level right here, though, you could see a nice move to the upside. The risk for me to the reward is not worth it. I like charts that give me clear understanding of where support and or resistance has been, and ATRA is not one of those charts. Okay, BMNR is the next chart we're going to go over. Thank you so much for your patience. I know sometimes you guys ask 3 or 4 times, and sometimes I just don't have an opportunity to get to the charts. Here is the chart of BMNR. Anytime you guys are asking about chart, go back and look at my previous positions because I've gone over BMNR several times. So just make sure you're Googling it, or not Googling it, but searching in YouTube or my channel specifically for charts if you guys have previous questions and I haven't answered them in the past. Or I mean, if I haven't answered them in the current video. All right, BMNR. Here's this downsloping trend line on BMNR. You notice how this price has been capped underneath this downsloping trend line. Here's a first pivot from the 27th of October, 2025. Second hit, try to get above it. Third hit, fourth hit. This is a downtrend on BMNR. For me, what I would be waiting for is price to get above this downsloping trend line, confirm above it, and then I could play it on a retrace. And the reason I would play this on a retrace is scene of the crime is it gives me a clear entry point. Right now, unless you're trying to get in at $17.35, that's really your only entry point because it gives me a solid stop out level. I would close my trade at $17.35 on a daily closing basis on BMNR if it does close below that, if you could pick it up at that level. Or you can wait for this downsloping trend line to break to the upside, give you confirmation that it's going to be a breakout instead of this continued move to the downside. And then you wait for a retrace to scene of the crime. And then even if you're paying a little bit higher for the chart, or I mean, for the price action of BMNR, it gives you a clear entry price and a clear exit. And that's what I look for in trades. BMNR is just really, really weak. And then if you look back at the charts, there's just not a lot of price action in here. You're not getting any information on this. You got volume of 10, 17, 157. For me, this is a stock that I would stay the heck away from, just because there's just not enough information. This is essentially a newer IPO when volumes first started coming in, but now you're just seeing continued selling pressure on BMNR. So that's my analysis on that. Adobe is another stock. So Adobe did put in a daily bottoming tail into some major support. I love the chart of Adobe. It's still technically in a downtrend. And so unless you're playing the retrace of that bottoming tail with a clear stop out at a close below the low pivot point, I would wait for a break of this upswing trend line. Even though I do like the chart, this isn't necessarily a trade that I would enter quite yet. $255.13. Look at this sell-off in Adobe. This was as high as $640. Now look at this sell-off. This is a 60% sell-off. Doesn't mean that it's overextended necessarily to the downside where buyers are going to step up. But look at from the previous high, you get a bigger sell-off, 61% to the downside. But here's this low pivot from the COVID lows of March 2020. This is a good solid support level. If it starts breaking below $255.13, though, look at where the potential next bounce is going to be. This high pivot point here and these low pivots, you could be seeing a sell-off all the way back down to about $200. $205 is the next level of support. So if it does close below $250 on a daily closing basis, I would re-enter it about $200, knowing that I've got this key psychological level at $200 where you should get a pretty solid bounce. Anytime I talk about support and resistance, it's really more of a range, right? So first level of support is going to be $232.85. And then the range is $235 all the way down to $205 or even $200. So this is your support range for the chart of Adobe. Now, if you wanted to play it on the retrace, like I was mentioning, this could be a good opportunity for you. Play it on a retrace. So you're looking at an entry price of about $256.55. Looks like it already got to the 50% Fibonacci retracement, and now we're starting to bounce. What you're looking for, if you're already long in Adobe, is this downsloping trend line right here to be broken. Confirm above it, retraces scene of the crime, could get you back down at 255.13, and that is your entry and exit price. And then you could see a continued move to the upside. All right. So Tesla is another stock that I've been monitoring for quite some time. This is a beautiful upsloping trend line that we have in the charts. It goes back from the lows of April 2025, pierced below it here, secondary hit, third, fourth, fifth, saved it. And then all of a sudden we got a rejection and then almost a retrace to the scene of the crime. And now we're in a downtrend on Tesla. So what I'm looking at is this low right here, lower low, and a lower low. Also a lower high, lower high, lower high. In order for you to change the position or change my mind that this is in a downtrend, is you need to take out, first start with this taking out of this pivot point right here at $436.63. And then your next level of bullishness, you would have to get back inside of this upsloping trend line and then take out $452. Now on the downside, you're looking at this major support at $391.09. Once that is broken though, you're in a range, a big range, $365.67, all the way down to this low pivot at $300 Pierce, or basically $298. For me, my level of support that I would be interested in picking up Tesla, the first level of support is right here, about 250 bucks. I do think that there's a potential downside for Tesla now that we're in a downtrend. The nice thing to see, or what you're waiting for, is a continued sell-off away from this upsloping trend line, breaking this pivot point right here, and then you're going to see a nice fall in the chart of Tesla. Palantir was a darling of the markets there for a while. It seemed like Palantir could only go up, up, up. Now it's put in a head and shoulders pattern. So what I've done is I've actually calculated the head and shoulders pattern on this, the potential measured move on this. So here's this head and shoulders pattern. So you got the shoulder here, head here, shoulder here. Is this the perfect head and shoulders pattern? No, absolutely not. But what I've done is I've taken this pivot top all the way down to the potential neckline. And then I've taken this measured move. I've taken this exact same measurement from the break of this head and shoulders pattern. Look at what the price action or the price target could be on Palantir. Look at this, all the way back down to $98.17. You have all of this price consolidation. And again, this is the range of support all the way down to about $83.95. This would be the first level for me as a swing trade. Those of you who are aggressive, you could pick this up at about $119.91 because you like the stock, knowing that you may have to dollar cost average all the way down to $89.17. But again, that would be my first real aggressive level, knowing that I've got a clear stop out below this, unless you plan on dollar cost averaging all the way down, it could go down another 25%. Okay. So that's my analysis on Palantir. Also in a downtrend, you got this pivot high, a low, lower high, lower low, lower high. I mean, a lower high right here, lower low. Look at this downtrend. Now, all of a sudden, now you can have this much, much bigger sell-off. FMFC, another stock that I would stay the heck away from. What are you going to do with this? It's trading at $36.10, which means that it's due for a reverse stock split. So let's say you have 500 shares and it does a reverse split of 5-to-1. That means you're left with 100 shares when you previously had 500 shares. And this is negative for this. The stock price will look like it jumps up. However, this is not a move to the upside. You're just reducing the amount of shares that you have to get this back above a $1 level. FMFC is a stock. I can't even look at this. I can't even tell you where I'd buy this thing at. I could tell you where some resistance is. If we get a move to the upside, you're going to have a lot of resistance at $4.37. And from this level right here, it could be 1,000% move to the upside. But this is just bearish consolidation. The buyers are out of this and the sellers are super in control of the stock of FMFC. All right, let's go into PayPal. I love the chart of PayPal. I think we're into a ton of support. This chart, this support range goes back to July of 2015. Now we're actually below this support level on the chart of PayPal, trading right here. Closing price is $40.29. It could head all the way back down to $33.98. What I'm looking for is PayPal to get back right up below $42.27, consolidate sideways, and then all of a sudden you're going to have this massive breakout to the upside. Again, ton of support in this area on the chart of PayPal. Another support level is $39. And then look at all this price consolidation, $36.37. But ultimately, I think the maximum downside for me would be $33.97 or 98 cents. Basically a pierce of $34 for the max downside for PayPal. I think ultimately you're going to have a nice surge to the upside. I love the chart of PayPal right now, even though it has been beaten up. Look at where the price action had come from, though. Man, And this is what I was talking about with Adobe. Just because we are down on the charts doesn't mean it can't go lower. 87% from the all-time highs. Incredible. Lots of support in this area. Again, price consolidation right underneath 42.27. Once you get those buyers back in, this thing is going to shoot up massively. ACN is another stock that we've been monitoring. I always like to mention previous major pivots in the charts. Here's an example of a major pivot. So right here, you've got this major pivot from the February high from 2020 before this massive sell-off. This happened with the whole market, but still gives you an idea of where the buyers were sitting. And then all of a sudden you got back up to it, consolidated right underneath this resistance, got above it, retraced the scene of the crime several times. And then look at the price action of ACN. It just ripped. It went up another 100% to the upside, or close to 100% to the upside. And now we're retracing back to this pivot point, and that's where you've gotten some support, $215.88. Because this has only hit one time in the last 5 to 6 years, this is your major support level at $215.88. Again, we're in a range right now. If you fall below that, what you're looking for is this support level right here at $196.35. What I like about this support level is not only is it a previous pivot high, but also pivot lows. You got these pivot lows right here where price consolidated right on top of before the surge to the upside. And you've also got the $200 key psychological resistance level, or a support level if it heads to the downside. Below that, you have this other major pivot in the charts sitting at $175.81. So really, these are my 3 levels of support for ACN. And ultimately, as long as, again, this $215.88 level holds, then you should see a nice surge to the upside. You have this big gap in the charts right here, so expect some resistance around $261.34. This isn't the gap right here. This is right here at 266, but you're going to have some resistance right here, these low pivots on ACN. Taiwan Semiconductors, TSM, is the next chart I'm going to go over. It's in this nice wedge pattern. This is an upsloping wedge pattern that actually favors a move to the downside. However, with the upward momentum, upward trajectory in a TSM, this thing could continue to rip higher. They create a lot of stuff that goes into your computers, and not just necessarily memory, but that's one of the components. So TSM right now, upsloping trend line. Look at this, goes back to the highs of March 2024. Here's a secondary hit from July 2024. Third hit right here. Here's your sell-off. Now all of a sudden you're consolidating above that level. And look at the lower end. You've got this upsloping trend line right here that connects the basically the lows of from April 2025. Secondary hit, third hit, fourth hit. Now we did confirm below it, but what happened was price action then confirmed back inside of this, or back above this upsloping trend line. And then, as you can see, it acted as support again, and then support again. This to me is telling me that there's going to be a continued breakout of TSM. And so for me, my next level of resistance is going to be the $400 whole round number. If we can start consolidating right underneath the $400 level, then we could actually see a much bigger move to the upside, and TSM could be just starting more of a breakout for the chart of this. On the downside, if just like what happened here, we broke down, we confirmed below this. If we, then we recapture this upsloping trend line. On the downside, if we can get below this upsloping trend line again, confirm below it, that would get all the bulls who were in this chart back out of it, and then could send this higher. Right now, we're kind of in a waiting period right now. What is TSM going to do? Is it going to confirm back inside of this basically wedge pattern, or is it going to stay above? And so for me, this is a no touch until it gets past $400, or if it drops all the way back down to $275, this gap in the charts right here, which is going to be some pretty major support. So if you're bullish on it, this is looking really, really good for you. What you're waiting for is price action to stay above this upsloping trend line. CleanSpark. I love it when charts have good confluence, or good respect of trend lines. So what we do as traders, it's not necessarily that we're technical analysis. What we do is we're trend observers. And that's the kind of the best way to think about it. Where was the current trend? The more respect something has on a specific trend line, the more confidence we can have on potential bounce or rejection. Kind of like TSM. Every time it's hit that downsloping, or excuse me, that both of those upsloping trend lines, it's either gotten rejection or it's gotten a bounce. And now we're just adjusting our mindset to see where the next potential move is going to go. CleanSpark is awesome. Great setup. Look at this upsloping trend line. Just identifying the pattern in the charts. 10th of March, 2023. Secondary hit. This is where you connect the trend line. Connect it from pivot low to pivot low. And then look at what happened. It got all the way down to $6.49. Third hit of this upsloping trend line. Then it got all the way back into this upsloping trend line at $8.31 after this massive move to the upside. This tells you that there is a lot of buying pressure every time it hits this upsloping trend line. So what are we watching for? Now that it's hit 4 times on this upsloping trend line, it could start favoring a pullback or a flush through this upsloping trend line. Once the pattern breaks, that is when the buyers step out of the way and let the sellers take control. So because this was a previous pivot on this trend line, previous trend, $6.53 is going to be your next level support for CleanSpark. But right now, this is the line in the sand for CLSK, $8.24. Break that. Your next level support, again, $6.42, around that area. And if it goes below that, you have the secondary hit of this trend line at $3.55. But right now, CleanSpark is getting a lot of support, and you could see a nice move to the upside or continued move to the upside. What we're waiting for is price to clear this $14.39 level. Once you do that, there's a lot more upside in CLSK. RIG, here, let me go ahead and switch back to this. RIG, wow, this is a $22 video. Okay, or 22-minute video. This is longer than I anticipated. It's longer than the last video, but that's okay. If you stuck around this long, please hit that like button, and we're going to go into RIG. It has an inverse head and shoulders pattern. This chart goes back to 2017, and the measured move on this is quite substantial. You could have a huge move to the upside on RIG. So go ahead and jump into the chart right here. Here's his left shoulder right here, head right here, and here's the right shoulder. Look at how every time this downsloping trend line has been hit, it's gotten a clear rejection until previous price action from the 17th of February. No, 9th, what is this? Oh, 13th of February, 2027. So yesterday, finally broke out. What I'm waiting for is not this break of this upsloping trend, or excuse me, downsloping trend line. I'm waiting for a confirmation. So I'm waiting for a price to close above $6.54 on a daily closing basis. I'm not going to enter that trade yet. What I'm going to do is wait for a retrace of the scene of the crime, likely hitting back down to about $6, and that is your entry price on RIG. The thing I like about that is it's a retrace of the scene of the crime, and then it gives you a clear stop out. Once you close below this downsloping trend line, you exit the trade. On the upside, though, if you decide to get in now, you want price action to clear this $8.86 level, but ultimately it could head all the way up to $17.54. That would be the measured move. And depending on your long-term time frame and your willingness to hold this, you could hold this for about 190% move to the upside. And look at that. If you zoom out on the charts, that's still not even all-time highs. I got to switch to the weekly time frame. Look at this. Look at where the price action could go, about back up to about $163. Right now, if you can get some continued upward momentum, this thing, I think, is going to skyrocket to the upside. So great call. Somebody who'd mentioned RIG. Let's see who it is. Mike C. 5603 had mentioned RIG, and so this is a beautiful inverse head and shoulders pattern. I love the chart, especially since it's beaten up from the $2 level. It's already risen over 200%, but there still could be another 200% move to the upside. So that's what I have for you guys. Thank you so much for your patience on me getting to your charts, and thanks for always liking, following, and subscribing, sharing with those friends. And thank you so much for the comments. You guys are really awesome. And this is why I love getting on here and doing these for you. because of the beautiful comments that you guys provide for me. And if you stuck around this long, I really appreciate you. And again, make sure you're getting something for your spouses for Valentine's Day. And this, again, was my gift to you guys. Have a great rest of your day and take care. We'll see you guys next time in the charts.